Hi, everyone. This is Terry Arvisu Gonzalez, and you are listening to the Tag Collab, my weekly podcast where we take inspiration from leadership training and the fact that I am still a work in progress so we can grow together. Today, I wanted to share with you something that it's a framework that I love that really, and it's called Help, Hear, or Handle. It is an incredible tool for both leadership and parenting that kind of rewired my instinct to fix everything. Okay. So, there's a moment in everybody's leadership journey when you realize that the very thing that made you successful is also the thing that holds you back. For me, that moment arrived wrapped inside a leadership training, and it hit harder, but it was also so insightful. If you know me, you know that I am a mama bear. By nature, I am protective, hands on, wired to jump in, shield my team, and solve whatever problem is burning on the table. Truth is, I probably did that more with my team than I do with my children, which is why they're so incredibly independent. Um, my top Clifton Strength Finder strength is restorative, which means that my brain lights up when something is broken. I love fixing things. I get energy from it. It feels like purpose. It's what makes me, I think, great at responding quickly, which is a great trait to have when you used to produce a 6 p.m. newscast every single day. It's also why I love startups. But strengths have shadows, and nobody tells you how easy it is to stand in your own light. So, this is the restorative trap. Okay. The leadership assessment describes something that felt uncomfortably true. Your greatest strength can become your greatest weakness when you use it on autopilot. In Spanish, we say, tu mayor virtud puede ser tu mayor defecto. And being aware of that, which is so essential in leadership training, is most of leadership training, most of my master's in science, in management and leadership, I kind of felt like it was a great opportunity to look inward and become extremely self-aware, right? But the truth is that I had been doing exactly that. In my mind, when someone walked into my office with a problem, I immediately interpreted it as an invitation to let me chip in, let me fix this, let me bear the weight, right? It didn't occur to me that maybe they weren't asking for a hero. Maybe they just needed a human or a partner. Honestly, if we revisit the book, when I read the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and they categorize, how the man deals with the problem and the woman listens to the problem, I thought, oh my God, I'm a man in that analogy. Wired to solve, not simply just to listen. To me, it feels almost as if just listening, or at least it did then, um, it felt like just listening was not caring, right? Because if I cared about you, I wanted to not stand by and just, well, let's see how you can fix it. My love language was about, and has and is oftentimes set to a default, is to help, right? It's how I build, and it's also what made me, I mean, honestly, like I said, running a newscast every single day, live television, zero margin for error, dealing with emergencies, it made me good at that, right? At navigating chaos. But in a crisis, you do want that person who runs towards the operating room, not away from it. Well, that is definitely me. But not everything is surgery. I had to come to the realization that if you answer every situation with surgical intensity, right? I guess my wiring didn't wasn't helped much by the fact that I was just in a newsroom for most of my career and lived with that intensity. We have a different sense of urgency in the newsroom than I think regular people do, which is why I'm acutely aware and don't want to drive people crazy. With my sense of urgency, um, usually that doesn't translate to the rest of the world. So I try. Um, so if you answer every situation with a surgical intensity, you unintentionally send a message you never meant to send. I don't trust you is sometimes what you're telling the person, or I don't think you can handle it, or hey, you need me. It wasn't my intention ever to send that, but intention and impact aren't twins. The turning point And one of my leadership courses, the facilitator said something that rewired my instincts forever, or at least I try. I still try. I will be brutally honest that I'm sure I have done it, jumped in too quickly. But I know that I try. When someone comes to my office and they're not always asking me to fix it, right? My immediate reaction was, well, then why come? Why would you talk about something you're not willing to do something about? I mean, that's how I'm wired, right? But not all of us think alike. Because in my worldview, communication was synonymous with problem solving. But in their worldview, communication might not be synonymous with problem solving. It might be synonymous with validation or collaboration or decompression. What I interpreted as a request for action was simply a request, maybe for presence or partnership. And then came the tool that they shared with me. Simple, elegant, grounding, the kind of tool that stays with you because it frees you and also helps you keep better relationships. The framework is help, hear, or handle. From that day forward, I try to not jump into fix mode, but first ask, do you want me to help? Do you want me to hear this, or do you want to handle? In other words, do you want me to help is, do you want me to brainstorm with you? Do you think it through? Be a partner in the process. Two, do you want me to hear it? As in, hold space, listen, reflect back, let you vent, or make meaning. Or three, do you want me to handle? As in, step in, intervene, take it off your plate, make the call, move the obstacle. It sounds almost too simple until you try it, because this one question forces clarity, and it also preserves a person's agency, protects the relationship from accidental overstepping, which God knows that as Latina moms, we tend to do that way too much. It prevents a leadership's instinct from becoming someone else's disempowerment, which is not what you intended. It also builds confidence in others because you're giving them room to rise. Most importantly, it slows you down long enough to practice discernment over default. Leadership is not about being the strongest one in the room. This framework taught me something I wish I had learned earlier. Sometimes the most powerful thing a leader and a parent can do is to strategically abstain. Not because you don't care, but because you care enough to let someone else grow. And when they do it themselves, oftentimes their confidence grows even more. So, your job isn't to be a fixer of all things. Whether you're a parent or manager, a leader, it's to be the builder of people. And people can't grow if we're constantly jumping in, patching up, or swooping down with answers. Sometimes the best leadership is the kind that steps back just enough to let others step forward. So, professional coaches use a similar approach based on the principle of what they call contracting, clarifying what the client wants before engaging. Some credit early coaching pioneers for popularizing this structure. So, the next time someone brings you something personal or professional, pause and ask, do you want me to help, hear, or handle? And then honor their answer. You'll be shocked how many times I was definitely. Uh, People just simply want you to hear it. Or also, even if they instinctively wanted you to handle it, they recognize the need. They don't want to admit that and say that out loud, or recognize that having you handle it is actually weakening their position. And so you help give them the courage to do it, right? You'll be humbled by how often people are capable of solving their own issue once they speak about it out loud. You'll also be relieved to learn that not every problem needs to become your project. This is where leadership matures, not in the moment you jump in, but in the moment that sometimes you choose not to. So, that this is the tag collab. I hope you enjoyed this. And if this spoke to you or you think it speaks to somebody else, comment, let me know, and also share this. Remember that this entire podcast is also an article in case you prefer to listen, watch, or read. I want to meet you where you're at. So, till next time.